Thank you for choosing ApplianceVideo.com. In this video, we will replace the cold water valve. The cold water valve is most commonly used in many LG and Kenmore washers. Our experts give this repair a Level 3 skill rating, Level 3 being moderate and may require some specialty tools and mechanical aptitude. The average time for completion of this repair is 40 minutes. ApplianceVideo.com advises you to take caution while performing this repair. During this video, you will see caution icons appear on the screen. Such icons include sharp edges, electrical dangers, gas and fire hazards, lifting hazards, water damage, and delicate components. You will need the following tools to complete this repair: a number 2 Phillips head screwdriver and adjustable pliers, commonly known as channel locks, and a painter's tool, commonly known as a putty knife. Stop! Before you begin this repair, make sure the appliance is unplugged from the wall outlet and the water is turned off. Step 1. Removing the cold water valve. To remove the cold water inlet valve, we must first uninstall the 6 Phillips head screws holding the back frame into place. Using your number 2 Phillips head screwdriver, remove the 6 screws by turning them counterclockwise. When removing the last screw, hold the frame in place with your hand. Then, slide the back frame forward while lifting up to remove the frame from the bottom notches. Caution: the panel may have sharp edges. Next, roll the control panel back so we can access the cold water valve. Using a permanent marker, label the 4 solenoids and harnesses with corresponding numbers to avoid mixing them up. Now grasp the right front harness and pull it to remove. Repeat this step for the remaining 3 harnesses. With your number 2 Phillips head screwdriver in hand, remove the cold water valve's left and right screws by turning them counterclockwise. Then, pull the valve back to release it from the bracket and push the valve down into the body of the cabinet. Before we move on, line up the tabs on the control panel on each end to the slots in the cabinet. Then push the control panel down until flush. To finish the removal of the cold water valve, we will need to access the fill hoses attached to the valve. Begin by opening the lid of the dispenser on top of your washer and locate the 4 screws that hold it in place. Using a number 2 Phillips head screwdriver, remove the 4 screws by turning them counterclockwise. Then lift off the dispenser lid. The dispenser assembly is held in place by 2 tabs. Depress the tabs with your thumbs to release. We are now ready to lift the top deck plate off of the washer. The top deck plate is attached by 2 locking clips located on each end of the unit. Slide a putty knife in between the front panel and top deck plate and find the catch on the left clip. Then, push the putty knife forward to release the clip. Repeat this step to unlock the right clip. Now, raise the top deck plate and lean it back against the wall to support it. With the interior components exposed, you can see the 4 hoses that need to be removed from the valve. With your permanent marker, label the hose clamps that correspond with each of the 4 solenoids. For example, The number 2 previously marked on the coil will now be marked with a number 2 on its hose clamp, and so on. Labeling will assist you upon reinstallation of your new valve and will help to avoid damaging your unit. After the 4 hoses have been marked, use your channel lock pliers to compress each clamp and slide them off of the valve approximately 1.5 inches. Remove each of the 4 hoses from the valve by pulling and twisting them back and forth. Take note, the hoses may have residual water in them, and a towel is highly recommended when removing the hoses. Step 2. Replacing the cold water valve. Now that you have a new cold water valve, let's replace it. Before you begin, mark each of the coils of your new valve exactly the same as your old valve to avoid any errors while installing. Next, find each of the marked hoses and attach them to their inlets that correspond with the numbered coils and hose clamps. Using your channel lock pliers, compress each of the 4 hose clamps and slide them up and over the inlet tubes to seal the connection. Now, tuck the valve assembly down into the body of the cabinet. With both hands, grasp the top deck plate of the washer and pull it down, rocking it back and forth into position. Align the slots from the top deck plate to the 2 clips on the front unit base and snap it into place. You are now ready to reinstall the dispenser. Pull the dispenser through its frame. Then lift and tuck the edges of the dispenser onto the 2 tabs, snapping it into place. To reattach the dispenser lid, align the 4 screw holes from the lid to the frame. With your number 2 Phillips head screwdriver in hand, reinstall the 4 screws by turning them clockwise. Next, gain access to the rear of your unit and roll the control panel back into position so you can access the cold water valve. Now align and push the valve into the holes of the back bracket into place. With your labeled coils and harnesses, connect each of the 4 wiring harnesses to their corresponding numbers on the coils. For example, the harness labeled number 1 goes into the terminal of coil number 1. Repeat this step for the remaining harnesses and coils. If needed, adjust the valve in the bracket to align it with the screw holes. Using your number 2 Phillips head screwdriver, reinstall the left and right screws by turning them clockwise. Now line up the tabs on each end of the control panel to the slots in the cabinet. Then push the control panel down until flush. You are now ready to reinstall the back frame. Align the 2 bottom tabs on the frame to the slots in the cabinet. Lift the frame to the cabinet and press it forward into place until flush. Finally, take your number 2 Phillips head screwdriver, reinstall the 6 screws in the back frame by turning them clockwise to secure. Now, reconnect your appliance to the wall outlet and turn the water back on. Congratulations! You have successfully completed this repair. Thank you for choosing ApplianceVideo.com.